transport ship shook violently as another blast hit its side. Corporal Minji Kim gripped the safety rail and watched the warning lights flash red across the control panel. Her supply run to the mining colony on Outpost 7 was supposed to be routine. Nothing about this felt routine anymore. "Hull breach on Deck 3, shouted Lieutenant Taman from the pilot seat. His hands moved fast across the controls, trying to keep the ship steady. "We've got 3 raiders on our tail. They're not backing off." Minji moved to the weapons station without being told. She had been a soldier for 6 years, and her body knew what to do before her mind finished thinking. The targeting system showed 3 ships closing in. They were Velkari vessels, marked with the red symbols of a raiding clan. Everyone in the outer colonies knew about the Velkari. They were big, reptilian, and they loved fighting. They took prisoners and made them fight in arenas for sport. "I can't shake them," Taman said. His voice stayed calm, but Minji could see the sweat on his face. "They're jamming our distress signal. No one knows we're in trouble." Another blast rocked the ship. This time the lights went out completely. Emergency red lighting kicked in a moment later, painting everything in blood-colored shadows. Minji heard the groan of metal bending somewhere below them. The ship was dying. "Brace for impact," Taman said. The transport lurched hard to the left. Minji's head hit the wall and bright stars exploded across her vision. She tasted blood in her mouth. When her eyes focused again, she saw Taman slumped over the controls. He wasn't moving. The front viewport showed a Velkari boarding ship attached to their hull like a parasite. Minji pulled herself to her feet. Her ears were ringing and her left arm hurt badly, but she could still move. She grabbed the plasma rifle from the weapons locker and positioned herself near the airlock door. If they were coming in, she would make them pay for every step. The airlock hissed. White vapor poured into the corridor. Through the mist, she saw shapes moving. Big shapes. The Velkari stood nearly 8 feet tall, covered in thick scales that acted like natural armor. They carried energy weapons that glowed blue in the dim light. Minji fired. Her first shot caught a Velkari in the shoulder, spinning him around. Her second shot missed as they scattered and took cover. She fired again, aiming for gaps in their armor at the joints and neck. One more went down, screaming in a language that sounded like rocks grinding together. But there were too many. For everyone she shot, 2 more appeared. A stun bolt hit her in the chest and her muscles locked up. The rifle fell from her hands. She dropped to her knees, trying to fight the paralysis spreading through her body, but it was no use. Her body wouldn't obey her anymore. Heavy footsteps approached. A massive Velkari warrior stood over her, looking down with yellow eyes that had no pupils. His scales were dark red, almost black, and he wore armor decorated with trophies from previous fights. This was their leader. "Small thing," he said in rough but understandable human language. "You fight well for prey. You killed 3 of my warriors. Impressive." He tilted his head, studying her like a scientist examining a bug. "You will do nicely in the arena." 2 other Velkari grabbed Minji's arms and dragged her toward their ship. She tried to resist, but the stun bolt had taken all her strength. Behind her, she heard more plasma fire. Taman must have woken up. He was still fighting. Then the shooting stopped suddenly, and she knew he was gone. They threw her into a dark cell that smelled like fear and old blood. The metal floor was cold against her face. Minji lay there until the stun effect wore off, feeling slowly returning to her fingers and toes. When she could finally move again, she sat up and looked around. The cell was small, maybe 10 feet by 10 feet. 3 walls were solid metal. The 4th was made of energy bars that hummed with power. Beyond the bars, she could see a corridor and other cells. Most were empty, but a few held other prisoners. In the cell across from hers, something huge and covered in thick fur pressed against its own energy barrier. Its eyes glowed orange in the darkness. In another cell, an insect-like creature with too many legs clung to the ceiling. "Do not bother trying to escape," said a deep voice. Minji looked to her left. In the next cell sat a massive being that looked like a cross between a bear and a gorilla, covered in gray fur.
"I am Voran."
"I have been here for 3 months. The energy bars will kill you if you touch them. The guards are always watching, and even if you escape the cell, you're on a Velkari warship in deep space. There is nowhere to go." "How many have tried to escape?" Minji asked. Her voice came out rough. Her throat was dry. 7, Voran said. "All died. The Velkari enjoy watching prisoners try. They make bets on how long each one will survive." "Where are they taking us?" "To Velkros Prime, their home world. They will put us in the arena, and we will fight for their entertainment." If you are strong and lucky, you might survive a few fights. Most die in the first one. Voren moved closer to the bars separating their cells. You are human, yes? I have heard of your species. You are new to the galaxy, small and weak from what I understand. You will not last long in the arena. Minji didn't answer. She leaned back against the cold wall and closed her eyes. Her hand moved to her chest, feeling the metal dog tags hanging under her torn uniform. The tags every Terran Defense Force soldier wore. She traced the raised letters with her fingertips, reading them by touch. Her name, her rank, her unit, and at the bottom the classification code that most species in the galaxy didn't understand yet. Apex Predator Protocol. Humans were new to space. Only 50 years ago, they had discovered faster-than-light travel and left Earth for the first time. The galaxy was full of older species, stronger species, species with better technology. Most of them looked at humans and saw weak prey animals from a primitive world. They didn't know about Earth. They didn't know what kind of world produced humans. They didn't know that Earth was rated as a Class 12 death world by the Galactic Survey Corps. They didn't know that human beings had evolved on a planet where everything wanted to kill them, where they had learned to hunt animals 10 times their size, where they had survived ice ages and plagues and wars that lasted centuries. The galaxy was about to learn. Minji opened her eyes and looked at Voren through the energy barrier. How many fights have you survived? She asked. 12, Voren said with something like pride in his voice. Then you're tough. When we get to this arena, stay close to me if you can. I might need someone who knows how things work. Voren made a sound that might have been a laugh. You plan to survive? Small human, you do not understand. The Velkari will put you against their arena beasts, creatures bred for killing. You have no natural weapons. No claws, no fangs, no armor, no venom. You will die quickly. Maybe, Minji said quietly. Or maybe your understanding of humans is incomplete. She touched her dog tags again. On Earth, humans had a saying. It was old, from before spaceflight, from the days when they still fought each other instead of exploring the stars together. The saying went, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. The Velkari had made a mistake. They had captured a soldier from Earth. They thought they had caught prey. They were wrong. The ship rumbled as it jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying Minji toward the arena. Toward whatever the Velkari had planned for her, she settled into a corner of her cell, conserving her energy. Her instructors had taught her many things at the Defense Force Academy. How to shoot, how to fight, how to survive behind enemy lines, how to endure pain and fear. But the most important lesson was simple. Never give up. Never surrender. Survive by any means necessary. She would survive this. Somehow. The galaxy was big and full of species that thought they understood what strength meant. They were about to get an education from a small human girl who refused to die. The cell door opened with a harsh grinding sound. Minji had been sitting in the darkness for what felt like days, though time was hard to measure on the ship. She stood up slowly, her muscles stiff from the cramped space and the cold metal floor. 2 Velkari guards stepped into the doorway. They wore black armor and carried stun weapons. One of them pointed at her and spoke in their grinding language. When she didn't move fast enough, he reached in and grabbed her arm, yanking her out of the cell. His grip was like iron. She could feel his claws pressing into her skin through her uniform. They dragged her down a long corridor. Other cells lined the walls, and she saw faces pressed against the energy barriers. Alien faces of every shape and size, all watching her with the same expression. Pity. They knew where she was going. Voren's voice called out from his cell as she passed. Fight well, small human. Die with honor. Minji didn't respond. She focused on her breathing, staying calm. Fear made you stupid, and stupid got you killed. That was another lesson from her instructors. The corridor opened into a massive preparation chamber. It was carved from dark stone and lit by torches that burned with purple flame. Along one wall, she saw weapons mounted on racks. Energy blades, plasma rifles, projectile weapons, metal clubs, and things she couldn't even identify. On the opposite wall, 3 heavy doors stood closed. She could hear sounds behind them, roaring, screaming. The sound of claws on metal. The lead guard, the one called Drexus, stood in the center of the chamber. He was bigger than the other Velkari, his scales darker, his armor more elaborate. Trophies hung from his belt, teeth and claws from creatures she didn't recognize. Human, he said, his voice echoing in the stone room. "You are fortunate. Today is a special day. The Grand Arena of Velcros Prime has 20,000 spectators waiting. They have come to see Bloodsport, and you will provide it." He walked in a circle around her, looking her up and down like she was meat at a market. "You may choose one weapon. Choose wisely. It may give you a few extra seconds of life." "I want to know what I'm fighting first," Minji said. Drexus laughed, a sound like rocks tumbling down a mountain. "Clever prey asks questions. Very well. Behind those doors are 3 of our arena beasts. The Ripper has 6 legs and claws that can cut through steel. The Charger weighs 3,000 pounds and can run faster than your human eyes can follow. The Viper moves like lightning, and its bite carries venom that will paralyze you in seconds." He leaned down, bringing his massive head close to hers. "You will face all 3 at once. The crowd prefers short, bloody entertainment." Minji walked to the weapon rack without showing any emotion on her face. Inside, her heart was pounding, but she had learned long ago how to hide fear. She looked at each weapon carefully. The plasma rifle would run out of charge quickly. The energy blade required training she didn't have. The projectile weapons were too slow. She picked up a simple combat knife with a blade about 8 inches long. It was balanced well, the weight distributed perfectly. "It would do, that is all?" Drexus sounded almost disappointed. "No gun, no energy weapon? Just a knife?" "Just a knife," Minji said. "Then you will die very quickly, a pity. I had hoped you would be more entertaining." Drexus gestured to the guards. "Take her to the arena." They grabbed her again and shoved her through a dark tunnel. She could hear sounds growing louder with each step. A crowd roaring, drums beating, the clash of metal on metal. Then she saw light ahead, bright and harsh after the darkness of the tunnel. The guards pushed her through a gate, and suddenly she was standing in the arena. It was massive. A circular floor of sand stretched out for at least 100 feet in every direction. The sand was dark, stained with old blood. High walls rose up on all sides, and beyond them sat thousands of aliens. Velkari mostly, but she saw other species too. They were all screaming and cheering. A wall of sound that hit her like a physical force. Minji stood still and looked around, taking everything in. The sand under her feet was soft and with slow movement. The walls were too high to climb. There was no cover, nowhere to hide. This was a killing floor designed for spectacle and death. 3 gates on the far side of the arena began to rise with a grinding sound. Behind them she heard the beasts, roaring, screaming, eager for blood. She pulled off her torn jacket and let it fall to the sand. Her dog tag swung free. Catching the harsh lights of the arena, she could see them clearly now. The metal gleamed: CPL, Minji Kim, Terran Defense Force, Death World Origin, Earth, Classification, Apex Predator. In the stands high above, a Velkari official watched through enhanced optics. He could zoom in and read small text from hundreds of feet away. When he saw what was written on the human's dog tags, he stopped moving. His mouth opened slightly. He read the words again, not believing what he was seeing. "Apex Predator," he whispered. "Death World Origin?" But there was no time to warn anyone. The beasts were already released. The first one through the gate was the Ripper. It looked like a massive insect, but covered in black armor-like shell instead of an exoskeleton. 6 legs ended in claws the size of swords. Its mouth was a nightmare of grinding teeth. It saw Minji and charged, moving faster than something that size should be able to move. Most prey would run. Most prey would panic. Minji did neither. She walked forward to meet it, her knife held low and ready. The Ripper lunged, all 6 legs striking at once. Minji dropped and rolled, coming up on the beast's left side where its legs couldn't reach. As it turned, trying to bring its claws around, she jumped onto its back. The Ripper screamed and bucked, trying to throw her off. She held on with one hand gripping the edge of its shell, and with her other hand she drove the knife into the gap where its head joined its body. The blade sank in deep. The Ripper's scream cut off. Its legs collapsed and it crashed to the sand. The crowd's cheering faltered. That wasn't supposed to happen. Not that fast. The second gate released the Charger. It looked like a cross between a rhinoceros and a tank, covered in thick gray armor plates. Small red eyes glared at her from under a massive horn. It pawed at the ground, then charged, building up terrifying speed. Minji pulled her knife free from the Ripper's corpse. She stood and watched the Charger come, calculating distance and timing. 3,000 pounds moving at 40 miles per hour. Dodge too early and it could adjust. Dodge too late and she would be crushed. She waited. The ground shook under the charger's feet. 20 feet away, 10 feet, 5 feet. Minji threw herself to the side at the last possible second. The charger couldn't turn fast enough. It hit the arena wall with a sound like thunder. The impact stunned it. Before it could recover, Minji was there. She climbed onto its back while it was dazed and drove her knife into its eye. The blade punched through and found the brain behind. The charger shuddered and fell. The crowd was silent now. Dead silent. This wasn't entertainment anymore. This was something else. Something they hadn't seen before. The third gate opened. The Viper slithered out long and serpentine, covered in scales that shimmered green and black. It was fast, so fast. It struck at Minji like lightning, fangs extended, venom dripping. She twisted away, but not quite fast enough. The fangs grazed her shoulder, tearing through her uniform and drawing blood. The venom burned like fire in the wound. She could already feel her arm starting to go numb. The Viper circled, preparing for another strike. Minji's left arm hung useless at her side. She switched the knife to her right hand. The numbness was spreading. She had maybe 30 seconds before the paralysis reached her heart. The Viper struck again. This time Minji didn't try to dodge completely. She stepped into the strike, inside the range of those fangs, and as the serpent's head shot past her, she grabbed it with her good hand. The Viper thrashed, trying to wrap its body around her, trying to crush her like its ancestors had crushed prey for millions of years. But Minji had grown up on Earth. She had seen videos of her ancestors wrestling crocodiles and pythons. She knew this dance. She twisted her body and threw the Viper's head down into the sand with all her strength. Before it could recover, she brought her knife down and drove it through the serpent's skull. Once, twice, 3 times. The Viper went limp. Minji stood slowly. Her left arm was completely numb now, hanging dead at her side. Blood ran down from her shoulder wound. She was breathing hard, but she was alive. All 3 arena beasts lay dead around her. The crowd was still silent, stunned. Then, slowly, one alien began to clap, then another, then more. Within seconds, the entire arena was erupting in cheers, but they were different cheers now. Not bloodlust. Not entertainment. This was respect. Recognition of a warrior. High in his viewing box, Drexus stood frozen. His second-in-command leaned close and whispered urgently, "Commander, I checked the Galactic database. Humans, they are from a Class 12 death world. That is the highest danger rating. And this classification on her tags, Apex Predator. I think we have made a terrible mistake." Drexus stared down at the small human standing in the blood-soaked sand. She looked up at him. Even from this distance, he could see her eyes. There was no fear in them, no mercy. Just the cold calculation of a predator that had survived. For the first time in his long career as an arena master, Drexus felt something he had never expected to feel. He felt afraid. The arena medics worked on Minji's shoulder in a cold stone chamber beneath the stands. They were Valkyrie, but trained in treating injuries for many species. The venom was already mostly neutralized by her body's immune system, which surprised them. Most species needed heavy medication to survive Viper venom. This human was processing it naturally. One of the medics, a female Valkyrie with lighter scales, kept staring at Minji's dog tags while she worked. "Deathworld," she muttered. "I have heard this term before. What does it mean?" Minji sat still while they sealed her wound. The pain was manageable. She had felt worse. "It means my planet tries to kill everything that lives on it. The weather, the animals, the plants, even the bacteria. If you are not strong enough, you die. Simple as that." The medic's hands paused. "All of your kind survived such a world?" "Not all. Billions died over millions of years. The ones who lived learned how to be hard to kill. We passed that knowledge to our children. Generation after generation." Minji flexed her left arm. Feeling was returning. The weak ones died. The smart ones lived. Now here we are. The medic finished her work in silence and left quickly, as if staying too close to Minji was dangerous. Across the complex, in the command center, Drexus stood before a massive view screen. His war council surrounded him. These were the most experienced Valkyrie warriors and officials, veterans of 100 campaigns. They had seen many things in their long lives, but none of them knew what to do about this. On the screen, database entries scrolled past. Information about Earth and humanity that the Galactic Council had collected. Most of it was recent. Humans had only been in space for a few decades after all. But what was there made for disturbing reading? Planet Earth, read Thresh, the clan's chief scientist. His voice was steady, but his scales had gone pale. Gravity 1.3 times galactic standard. Atmospheric oxygen content 21%. Most species would find this toxic. Atmospheric pressure 1.0 standard, but with extreme variations. Weather systems regularly produce winds exceeding 100 miles per hour. Temperature ranges from -100 to +130 degrees in various regions. That does not sound so terrible, said one of the warriors. Harsh, yes, but survivable. I am not finished, Thresh said. The planet has experienced 5 mass extinction events. The most recent killed 75% of all land species. The dominant life forms before humans were massive reptilian creatures weighing up to 200,000 pounds. Humans evolved as prey animals being hunted by predators with claws, fangs, and armor. Human response was to develop intelligence, tool use, and pack hunting tactics. Within several thousand years, humans hunted most megafauna to extinction. The room went quiet. Drexus felt a cold sensation spreading through his chest. Continue, he said. Human beings are classified as persistence predators. They can track prey for days without stopping, running it to exhaustion. They are also classified as pack hunters with complex communication. They are also classified as apex predators with no natural predators remaining on their world. They combine all 3 evolutionary strategies. Thresh looked up from the screen. There is a note here from the Galactic Survey Corps. It recommends avoiding contact with humans until their cultural development can be better assessed. Why was this information not shared more widely? Demanded one of the council members. Because humans are new to space. Most species do not pay attention to new species. They are assumed to be primitive and weak. The Galactic Council keeps detailed records, but most civilizations do not bother to read them. Thresh pulled up another file. There is more. After humans achieved space travel, they fought a war among themselves. 3 separate human factions. The war lasted 7 years and resulted in 40 million human deaths. They were killing each other over political ideologies. After the war ended, the surviving humans unified and began expanding into space together. They killed 40 million of their own kind? One warrior asked. Over ideas? Yes, and when the war ended, the survivors simply moved on. There is a human phrase in their database. That which does not kill me makes me stronger. This appears to be a core human philosophy. Drexus turned away from the screen and looked at his council. We captured one of these humans and threw her into our arena for entertainment. She killed 3 champion beasts in minutes. What have we done? Before anyone could answer, an alarm sounded. The communications officer spoke urgently from his station. Commander, we have received a transmission from the Terran Embassy. Ambassador Jisoo Park demands the immediate return of Corporal Minji Kim. She says we have 48 hours to comply, or they will consider this an act of war. An act of war? Drexus laughed, but it sounded hollow even to his own ears. What can one species do against our entire civilization? They have been in space for less than a century. We have been warriors for 10,000 years, Commander. The communications officer said quietly. There is more. Our sensors have detected 3 Terran warships that entered our system 6 hours ago. They are not broadcasting. They are not responding to hails. They are simply waiting, just beyond our orbital defense range. The cold sensation in Drexus's chest grew worse. 3 ships? Yes, Commander. They are of a class we have not seen before. Heavy armor, advanced weapon systems. They appeared without warning. Our defense satellites did not detect them until they were already in position. The officer paused. Sir, I checked their positioning. They are blocking the 3 main exit vectors from our system. If we wanted to leave, we would have to go through them. 3 ships position themselves to blockade our entire system? One council member scoffed. This is a bluff. They are trying to intimidate us. Perhaps, Drexus said slowly, or perhaps they are confident that 3 ships are all they need. In her cell beneath the arena, Minji sat on the cold floor and listened to the voices of other prisoners. Word had spread fast about what happened in the arena. The human had survived. More than survived. She had won, easily. Voran called out from his cell, Small human, you live. I did not think this possible. You fought well. Thank you, Minji said. She was tired. The venom had been neutralized, but it still left her weak. She needed food and rest, but at least she was alive. The other prisoners talk about you, Voren continued. They say you are from a death world. Is this true? Yes. I have heard stories about death worlders. I thought they were myths. Legends to scare young ones. Planets so dangerous that any species evolving there must become either predator or prey, with no middle ground. Is Earth truly such a place? Minji thought about her home. Green forests and blue oceans, mountains reaching into clouds, storms that could destroy cities, earthquakes that split the ground, volcanoes that burned everything for miles, animals with claws and fangs and venom, diseases that could kill millions, and humans who had learned to survive all of it. Yes, she said simply. Earth is such a place. A younger Velkari guard approached her cell. His scales were lighter than most, indicating youth. He stood outside the energy barrier and looked at her with something like curiosity in his eyes. Human, he said quietly. I am called Rexon. I watched your fight in the arena. I have questions. Ask, Minji said. She had nothing else to do. You are so small. You have no claws, no fangs, no natural armor. How did you defeat those beasts? They were bred for killing. They have defeated warriors twice your size. Size is not everything, Minji said. I am small, yes. But being small has advantages. I'm fast, I'm hard to hit. And I know where the weak spots are. But how did you know? Those beasts are alien to you. You had never seen them before. Minji stood and walked to the energy barrier. Rexon took a step back, some instinct warning him to maintain distance. She smiled slightly at his reaction. I know because anatomy is similar across most species. Eyes are weak. Joints are weak. The place where the head meets the body is weak. If something is alive, it can be killed. You just have to know where to strike. You speak of killing so calmly, Rexon said, as if it is normal. On my world, it is normal. Every human alive today is descended from survivors, from hunters, from people who refused to die even when everything around them was trying to kill them. We learned these lessons over 4 billion years of evolution. They are built into us now. We cannot forget them even if we wanted to. Rexon was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Commander Drexus is worried. The Galactic database says humans are dangerous. There are Terran warships in our system. Some of the Council want to release you immediately. Others want to make you disappear quietly. And what do you want? Minji asked. I want to understand. Your species is small and weak compared to most others in the galaxy. You have no natural weapons, yet you survive. How? Minji sat back down. She was very tired now. We survive because we refuse to accept death. That is all. When something tries to kill us, we fight back. When we are outnumbered, we use our intelligence. When we are outmatched, we use tools. And when all else fails, we endure. We wait, we heal. And then we come back stronger. She looked at Rexon through the barrier. Your people made a mistake capturing me. But it is not too late to fix that mistake. Send me home and humans will remember that the Velkari chose wisdom over pride. The arena was different this time. Minji could feel it the moment the guards led her from her cell. 3 days had passed since her first fight. 3 days of rest, food, and medical care. Her shoulder wound had healed cleanly. The venom was completely gone from her system. She felt strong again, but the atmosphere had changed. As she walked through the corridors, she saw other prisoners watching her with new expressions. Not pity anymore. Something closer to awe or fear. Word had spread through the entire facility. The small human from the death world had killed 3 arena beasts like they were nothing. The preparation chamber was packed with Velkari officials and guards. All of them watched her as she entered. Drexus stood in the center, his dark scales gleaming under the purple torchlight. He did not look pleased. Human, he said. Tonight is the night of champions. It is our most sacred event. 10 of our finest warriors will enter the arena. They have trained their entire lives for combat. Each has won over 50 arena matches. They are the best we have. He paused, his yellow eyes fixed on her. You will face all 10 at once. If you survive, you earn your freedom. If you do not, well, at least you will die with honor. Honor does not keep you alive, Minji said quietly. No, Drexus agreed. But it is all we have when life ends. He gestured to the weapon racks. Choose your weapons. You may take as many as you wish this time. Minji walked to the rack slowly, studying each weapon. The other weapons looked impressive. Energy staffs that crackled with power, plasma blades that could cut through metal, projectile weapons with explosive rounds. But impressive weapons did not mean effective weapons. She had learned that lesson a long time ago. She picked up a simple combat knife, same as before. Then she selected a metal rod about 3 feet long. It was solid steel heavy, good for blocking and striking. That was all she needed. Drexus made a sound that might have been approval or disappointment. She could not tell. A knife and a rod against 10 armed warriors. You are either very brave or very foolish. I am neither, Minji said. I am practical. I know how to use these. That is all that matters. Then let us begin. Drexus waved his hand and the guards pushed her toward the tunnel. The tunnel seemed longer this time, or maybe time just moved slower when you knew what was waiting at the end. Minji controlled her breathing, keeping it steady and deep. Fear tried to creep into her mind, but she pushed it away. Fear made you hesitate. Hesitation got you killed. The light at the end of the tunnel grew brighter. The sound of the crowd grew louder, different from last time. This time there were cameras. This time the fight was being broadcast across the galaxy, thousands of species watching, waiting to see if the human would survive. She stepped out into the arena and the crowd erupted. The sound hit her like a physical wave. She stood still for a moment, letting her eyes adjust to the harsh lights. The sand under her feet was fresh and clean. No bloodstains this time. They wanted this fight to be special. Across the arena, 10 gates began to open. Through each one walked a Velkari warrior. They were massive, each one at least 7 feet tall, covered in thick scales and heavy armor. They carried weapons that looked like they could cut a person in half with one strike. Energy blades, plasma axes, metal clubs covered in spikes. The lead warrior, the champion called Krell, stepped forward. He was bigger than the others, his armor decorated with trophies from previous victories. He looked at Minji and spoke in a voice that echoed across the arena. Human, you have earned respect with your previous victory, but today you face true warriors. We will grant you a quick death if you surrender now. There is no shame in knowing when you are defeated. Minji did not answer. She simply took a fighting stance, knife in her right hand, metal rod in her left. Her eyes tracked each warrior, noting how they moved, where their armor was weak, which ones favored their right side or left side. Krell raised his blade. So be it. You die a warrior. They came at her from all sides. The first warrior swung a massive axe at her head. She ducked under it and struck his knee with the metal rod. The joint bent wrong and he fell. Before he could recover, she drove her knife into the gap between his helmet and chest plate. He stopped moving. 2 more warriors rushed her together. She threw the metal rod at one, hitting him in the face. While he was stunned, she rolled between his legs and came up behind him. Her knife found the back of his neck. He dropped. The second warrior brought his blade down where she had been standing a moment before. She was already moving, staying low, staying fast. He was bigger and stronger, but she was quicker. She circled around him, making him turn, making him work. Then she saw her opening. When he raised his blade for another strike, she darted forward and slashed the tendons behind his knee. He fell and her knife finished him, 3 down, 7 to go. The remaining warriors were more careful now. They spread out trying to surround her. Smart. They were learning, but Minji had fought against multiple opponents before. The key was never to let them attack all at once. Always keep moving. Always make them get in each other's way. She ran at the nearest warrior, then changed direction at the last second. 2 warriors behind her collided, their weapons tangling. While they were confused, she grabbed one of their dropped weapons, an energy staff. She did not turn it on. She just used it like a club, smashing it into the side of a warrior's helmet. The impact dented the armor and sent him staggering. Another warrior came at her from the left. She spun and threw the energy staff like a spear. It hit him in the chest and knocked him backward. Before he could recover, she was on him. Her knife found the gap under his arm where the armor did not protect. 5 down. 5 to go, but she was tiring now. The Velkari warriors were strong and well-trained. Every block sent shocks up her arms. Every dodge took energy she could not get back. She was breathing hard. Sweat stung her eyes. The remaining 5 warriors saw this. They pressed their advantage, attacking more aggressively. A blade caught her side, tearing through her uniform and drawing blood. She hissed in pain but kept moving. Pain was just information. It told you that you were still alive. She grabbed a handful of sand and threw it at the nearest warrior's face. While he was blinded, she took his weapon. A plasma axe. It was heavy, but she swung it with all her strength at another warrior's legs. The plasma blade cut through his armor like it was paper. He fell screaming. 4 to go. A massive blow hit her from behind. She flew forward and hit the sand hard. Her knife fell from her hand. Before she could reach it, a heavy foot pressed down on her back, pinning her. Krell stood over her, his blade raised. You fought well, human. But this ends now. The crowd was silent, waiting for the final blow, but Minji was not done. On Earth, there was an animal called a wolverine. It was small, maybe 30 pounds, but it could fight off bears and wolves because it refused to quit. It fought with everything it had until the very end. Humans had learned from the wolverine. Minji grabbed Krell's ankle and twisted with all her remaining strength. He stumbled and his foot slipped from her back. She rolled away, grabbed her knife, and came up in a crouch. Krell recovered quickly and charged. But he was angry now. Angry made you careless. When he swung his blade, she did not dodge away. She stepped forward inside his reach and drove her knife up under his jaw. The blade punched through and found his brain. Krell's eyes went wide. Then he fell. 3 warriors left. They looked at each other. Their champion was dead, killed by a small human half his size. Fear showed in their eyes now. Minji did not give them time to think. She attacked. Not cautiously, not carefully, just pure forward aggression. She had learned this from her instructors. When you were wounded and tired, sometimes the only way to win was to be more willing to die than your enemy. She took a blade strike to her shoulder, did not care, kept moving. Her knife found a throat. 2 left, another blade caught her leg. She fell to one knee. The warrior raised his weapon for the killing blow. She threw her knife. It spun through the air and buried itself in his eye. He dropped, 1 left. The last warrior was young. She could tell by his lighter scales. He looked at all his fallen comrades. Looked at the small bleeding human kneeling in the sand. Looked at his weapon. He dropped it. I yield, he said quietly. You have won, human. I will not die for pride, Minji nodded. She understood. There was no shame in knowing when to stop fighting. That was wisdom, not cowardice. She stood slowly. Everything hurt. She was bleeding from a dozen wounds. Her uniform was soaked with blood, both hers and theirs. But she was standing. She was alive. The arena was silent for a long moment. Then one alien in the crowd began to chant. A slow rhythmic sound. Others joined in. Within seconds, the entire arena was chanting. It was not Belkari language. It was something older, something universal. The chant of respect for a warrior who had earned victory. Drexus stood in his viewing box, staring down at the arena floor. 9 of his best warriors lay dead or unconscious. 1 had surrendered. And the small human stood in the center of it all, covered in blood, barely able to stand, but still alive. His second-in-command leaned close and whispered, Commander, the entire galaxy is watching this broadcast. Every major civilization has seen what just happened. They have seen a single human defeat 10 Velkari champions. I know, Drexus said quietly. What do we do now? The medical bay on the Belkari station was quiet. Minji lay on a bed designed for beings much larger than her wounds bandaged and sealed. The Velkari doctors had done good work. The cuts would heal cleanly. The bruises would fade. In a few weeks, she would be as good as new. But the scars would remain. Not just on her body, on the entire galaxy. Rexon, the young Velkari guard, stood outside her room. He had asked to be assigned to her protection detail during her recovery. When she woke up, he entered quietly, carrying a tray of food. Human Minji, he said, using her name for the first time. How do you feel? Sore, she said honestly. But alive. That is enough. He set the food down beside her bed. It was human food, or as close as the Velkari could manage. They had checked the galactic database for human dietary requirements and done their best. She appreciated the effort. I watched your fight, Rexon said. The entire thing. I've watched it 3 times now. Each time I see something new, something I did not understand before. What do you see? Minji asked. She picked at the food slowly. Her appetite was returning. I see that you were never trying to kill them all. You were trying to survive. There is a difference. Our warriors fight for glory, for honor, to prove their strength. You fought only to stay alive. That made you more dangerous. Smart observation, Minji said. Honor is important. Glory is nice. But survival comes first. Always. If you are dead, honor does not matter. This is a very human way of thinking, Rexon said. Most species in the galaxy do not think this way. We have rules for combat. We have traditions. We have honor codes. We have those too, Minji said. But we also remember that we came from a world where the rules were simple. Survive or die. Nothing else mattered. Those rules are still inside us even now that we have honor and traditions and codes. Rexon was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "There is news from across the galaxy. The broadcast of your fight has been seen by billions. Every major civilization watched it. They are all talking about humans now. About Earth, about Deathworlders, and what are they saying? Many things. Some species are afraid. They see how you fought, and they worry that humans will be conquerors. Others are impressed. They want to meet humans to learn from you, to form alliances. And some are angry. They feel that the Velkari dishonored themselves by capturing you in the first place." "The Velkari made a mistake," Minji agreed. "But Drexus fixed it. He let me fight for my freedom instead of just killing me quietly. That took courage. I respect that. Commander Drexus wants to speak with you before you leave. Will you see him?" "Yes," Minji said. An hour later, Drexus entered her room. He looked different somehow. Smaller, maybe. Or maybe Minji just saw him differently now. She had proven she was not prey. That changed how people looked at you. "Corporal Kim," he said formally, "I come to offer apology. We captured you believing you to be weak. We threw you into our arena for entertainment. We were wrong. The fault is mine." "Apology accepted," Minji said simply. "You could not have known. Humans are new to space. The information about us is not widespread." "That is changing now," Drexus said. "The Galactic Council has issued new protocols for contact with human vessels. Ships are required to maintain respectful distance. Captures are forbidden. Any species that harms a human will face sanctions. Because they are afraid of us now. Yes, you showed them that humans are dangerous. That was necessary. But I hope you understand many species in the galaxy are old and cautious. They remember wars that destroyed entire civilizations. They fear anything that might start another such war. Your species is young and aggressive. That makes them nervous." Minji sat up slowly, testing her injuries. Everything held. "My people do not want war," she said. "We had enough war on Earth. Thousands of years of killing each other. When we finally made it to space, we promised ourselves we would be better. We would try diplomacy first. We would try peace." She looked at Drexus directly. "But we will defend ourselves always. If someone attacks us, we will fight back with everything we have. That is not aggression. That is survival." "I understand now," Drexus said. "And I believe many others will come to understand as well. The Velkari have decided to pursue formal diplomatic relations with Earth. We would like to establish an embassy on your homeworld, if your government permits it." "That will not be my decision," Minji said. "I am just a soldier, but I will recommend it to my superiors. The Velkari are strong warriors. Having you as friends instead of enemies would be wise." Drexus bowed his head slightly, a gesture of respect. Then he left. 2 hours later, a Terran shuttle docked with the Velkari station. Captain Donghyun Lee came aboard personally, along with a squad of Marines in full combat armor. They were not taking any chances. If this was a trap, they would fight their way out. But it was not a trap. The Velkari guards stood respectfully aside as the Terran soldiers made their way to the medical bay. When Donghyun saw Minji, his stern face broke into a smile. "Corporal Kim," he said. "You look terrible." "Thank you, sir," Minji said. "It is good to see you too. Can you walk?" "Yes, sir." "Then let us go home." The walk through the Velkari station was strange. Every guard, every official, every worker stopped what they were doing to watch Minji pass. Some bowed their heads, others simply stared. All of them showed respect. Word had spread. The human who defeated 10 champions. The warrior from the death world. The apex predator. On the shuttle back to the Indomitable, Donghyun briefed her on what had happened while she was captured. The diplomatic messages. The threats of war. The 3 warships that had been ready to level the Velkari homeworld if necessary. "We were prepared to start a war for you," he said. "One soldier. But that is how we operate. We do not leave our people behind, ever." "I know, sir," Minji said. "That is what makes us strong. Not our weapons or ships. Our refusal to abandon each other." Back on the Indomitable, the crew lined the corridors as Minji walked to the medical bay. They saluted as she passed. She had done something important. She had shown the galaxy what humans were capable of. She had made everyone proud. In the medical bay, human doctors took over her care. They were gentler than the Velkari, more familiar with human anatomy. They told her she would make a full recovery. No permanent damage. She was lucky, but Minji did not feel lucky. She felt tired. So very tired. Ambassador Jisoo Park contacted her via video link the next day. She was a stern woman in her 50s with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Corporal Kim," she said, "you have created quite a situation. Every government in the galaxy is demanding information about Earth now, about our military capabilities, about our intentions. You have made us famous." "I apologize, Ambassador," Minji said. "I did not intend to cause diplomatic problems." "Do not apologize," Jisoo said with a slight smile. "You did exactly what you were supposed to do. You survived. You showed strength when strength was needed. Now I get to use that to negotiate better terms for our colonies, better trade agreements, better protection for our citizens. You have given me leverage. I should be thanking you. What happens now?" Minji asked. "Now we adapt," Jisoo said. "The galaxy knows about us. Really knows about us. They understand that we are not easy prey, that we come from a harsh world that made us into survivors. Some species will fear us. Others will respect us. A few will want to test us. But all of them will think twice before attacking a human vessel again. Is that a good thing?" "It is a necessary thing," Jisoo said. "We cannot remain unknown forever. Better to be known and respected than unknown and vulnerable." She leaned forward. "There is something else. Several species have sent requests for human military advisors. They want to learn our tactics, our training methods. They want to understand how we fight. And will we help them? That is for the government to decide. But I believe we will. Sharing knowledge builds trust. Building trust prevents wars. And preventing wars keeps everyone alive." Jisoo paused. "Get some rest, Corporal. When you recover, you will have many offers. Some species want you to train their warriors. Others want you to give speeches about Earth and human culture. You have become famous. How you handle that fame will shape how the galaxy sees all humans." The video link closed. Minji lay back on her bed and stared at the ceiling. Famous, she had never wanted to be famous. She had just wanted to do her job, to serve her time in the military, to go home eventually and live a quiet life. But that was not possible now. The galaxy was watching. Every human was being judged by her actions. That was a heavy responsibility. 3 weeks later, Minji stood on the bridge of the Indomitable as it entered Earth's solar system. She had not been home in 2 years. Looking at the blue and green planet through the viewport made her chest tight with emotion. Earth, the death world, the planet that tried to kill everything on it. The planet that had forged humanity in fire and blood and refused to let them quit. It was beautiful. The ship landed at the main spaceport outside Seoul. General Hyejin Choi was waiting for her personally. She was a small woman, barely 5 feet tall, but she radiated authority. She had been a soldier for 40 years and had fought in every major human conflict since the Unification War. "Corporal Kim," she said. "Welcome home." "Thank you, General. Walk with me." They walked through the spaceport past crowds of people going about,